Hi there, I'm Blaine Bertsch, co-founder and CEO at Dryrun, and I'm going to walk you through a quick demo of our Dryrun cash flow forecasting and scenario modeling software so you can see if it's a good fit for your organization. Dryrun delivers value in three key ways. First, we bring clarity to the management team while they're making decisions. Secondly, we're going to deliver up-to-date, accurate data and a single source of truth. And third, we're going to bring massive efficiencies to the business, especially with the finance team, where they're likely to save a minimum of 20% of their time. Dryrun will have a positive impact on your bottom line by not only reducing your expenses, but also helping to identify those opportunities and drive revenue growth. Dryrun helps businesses have a better understanding of the timing of the inflows and outflows of cash, but also the movement of cash across entities and the ability to model scenarios to pick the best path forward. Although Dryrun is used across the globe in virtually any industry, there are common use cases that we see over and over again, and they tend to be verticals that experience a lot of volatility in their cash flow. So now let's take a look at the software. Our top priority at Dryrun is making sure that the management team is all on the same page and can understand at a glance what's happening in their cash flow and where the business is headed. And so this is where I like to start a demo, showing a single scenario within this forecast and looking at simply the cash end. What's our runway look like? What's happening with our cash flow? And I can move from this cash end view to a net cash view, which is going to help us understand exactly what's happening on a month to month basis. I can flip from monthly down to a weekly or daily view if I want to get a little more detail on where we're headed. And I can turn on variance, which actually serves two functions. First, in the past, I can see our budget to actuals. And in the future, I can see the net inflows and outflows of cash. So we know that control and flexibility are some of the most important things we can offer to you to keep you out of those spreadsheets so that you can organize the data the way you need to present it. So I've expanded this scenario, and the next level down in organization are called sections. In this case, I have three sections: a cash in, which holds our accounts receivable and also our sales forecast; cash out, our accounts payable, some of our costs of goods sold, and other one-off large expenses that give us timing issues; and expenses, which are for our fixed expenses. But you can make as many sections as you want. You can name them however you want, and you can map your data any way you want into those sections. As I expand cash in, you'll now see subsections. And in this case, I have an accounts receivable section and a sales section. So now that I've expanded our accounts receivable section, you'll see that I can look at all of the different age receivables that we have. The red number tells me how many days overdue, how many items that we have overdue, and also I can see into the future when payments are likely to come in. And from a cash management perspective, I can either set auto DSO and it'll move my invoices based on a per client or bills per vendor to exactly where we predict them to hit automatically. Or I can actually adjust them myself because maybe I've talked with the client and I know they're not going to pay us for a couple months out. I simply bump that back. That item is now flagged in orange and we know that we need to keep an eye on it. And now when I take a look at the sales subsection, you'll see that in the past, all of these items with black numbers are our actuals. Now they're coming in from our ERP or our accounting file, and maybe even just drag and drop uploaded from a spreadsheet. All of the numbers that are blue are auto forecast. Now you don't need to use an auto forecast in Dryrun, but we find it's a great way to get started. And there's different methods you can set up for your auto forecast, whether it maps to last year, the average of last year, or even just model it based on a recent month. It gives you an instant, really quick way to get started in Dryrun and begin to model forward without doing a lot of heavy lifting. Our cash out is very similar. We have an AP section, a COG section, a contractor section, and we can map whatever we want into whichever section we need it to be. And the final section you'll see is expenses. Here's where I've made a number of subsections and started to group together my expenses so that they make sense, but I'm not overwhelmed with a ton of granular data. But I can always dig in and look at the accounts one by one and start to understand exactly what's happening and where my money's going. One of the most powerful visualizations in Dryrun is through our scenario modeling. So here you can see that I've duplicated our first scenario, and now I can start to dig in and model all sorts of things to quickly get to some answers for the business. So even though we've pulled in the data from your ERP and we've got everything perfectly organized in Dryrun, This is the point where you can get your hands dirty and start to model out virtually anything within the software, such as your starting bank balance. Because we know if your books aren't up to date, you need to start with an accurate starting balance. But there are a lot of ways to model things out in Dryrun, including building your own automations, dependencies, allocations, whatever you need to make your model run mostly by itself. So you only have to touch it in the places where you have to add your input. For example, maybe I want to connect the supplies account to my revenue account. So in this case, I'm building a dependency that just creates a 10% expense based on our sales. So as I forecast our sales forward and the demand that we expect, our expense account is going to automatically adjust to reflect that without us needing to touch a thing. So now the management team can compare their options and pick the best path forward. But there are other ways to visualize your data in Dryrun, such as jumping into this reports area. You can look at your trial balance where all of this data is pulled into Dryrun. You can look at your balance sheet, income statement. You can look at your cash flow view in this format in Dryrun, your customer vendors, your accounts payable and receivable. You can even have custom reports in Dryrun specifically built for your business. And Dryrun works seamlessly with multi-entity organizations. From consolidating different entities together with completely different data sources, through to looking at each individual entity on its own or comparing to each other, Dryrun will help you understand even the most complex organization. And collaborating across entities is a snap. So come and visit us at dryrun.com, book your demo today, and see if Dryrun might be a fit for you.